And I'll go ahead and start by the constant rule says that, and that's where I tell you, remember me, I might have not told you, but anytime you have a constant, f of x is equal to 4. Well, technically, that's f of x is equal to 4x to the 0. Because what's x to the 0? 1. So technically you can write any constant as a constant and a variable with that variable to the 0 power. Now we use the power rule. What's 0 times 4? 0, Hubert. And 0 minus 1. And what's 0 times anything? So anytime you've got a constant, the derivative of any constant will be what? 0. So that's that one. The multiple rule, the constant multiple rule, says that if you have a constant, you can pull that constant out, okay? F of x is equal to 4x squared. And I can actually do this. I can say 4 times the derivative of x squared prime, or I'm going to put the prime up there, and I'm going to color it green so you can make an accent that I'm taking the derivative of x squared, and that's going to give me 2x, and that'll be 8. X is the derivative. So I can take the derivative of 2x, of x squared, which would be 2x, multiply times 4 and get 8. Or I could do the power rule and say 2 times 4 is what? 8, and then wanting to use the power rule. Either way, the 4 I pulled out. So you can pull a constant out. That's just kind of a rule that we don't use a lot, but you can actually pull that 4 out and take the derivative of x squared. That was her probably, so let me try to see if... Things I do for y'all. I should just say, the heck with it. Okay, now none of S, I mean, move to S. Okay, so there's no Simmons anymore. Okay, so now mine's acting up. What did I tell you? Okay, a while ago when I pulled up Simmons, did names not come up? Sure. There they are. Okay. Guess I just had to wait a minute. Okay, still doesn't show. I guess she's still booting up. All right, I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, power rule. We talked about it. That's your first rule, technically, of derivatives. Okay? Power rule says that if I have a function, 3x to the 4th, then I multiply 4 times 3, x to the 4 minus 1. And that's equal to 12x to the 3rd.
You just keep using the power rule over and over and over.
You can use the power rule, yes, when you have a single term, or you are adding and subtracting single terms. That's the sum and the difference rule. Okay, so these two are kind of the same. These two right here are basically if you're just adding and subtracting. Okay, so we got the constant rule, the constant rule, the pulling out a constant rule, and then the power rule. Now, these two basically are the same thing. One's got a plus, one's got a minus. So I'm going to give you two examples here. F of x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. Now, I can break this up into three separate, and I can go 2x squared prime plus 4x prime plus 2 and take the derivative of each. Or I can just go through and say, just use my eyeballs and go, okay, this is going to be 4x. And this is going to be 1 times 4, and that's going to be 4. And this is going to be 0. Of course, I don't have to write the 0, but I'm just showing you that those are three terms that are being added or subtracted. And when you have terms that you cannot add together, in other words, it's not combining like terms, all those are different from each other, you can just take the derivative using the power rule of each one. Now this is important because a lot of students don't understand the difference between the sum and difference rule and the product and quotient rule. Well, it's easy. This one's addition, this one's subtraction, this one's multiplication, and this one's what? Division. That's basically it. But these two really are not different from each other. These two are really the same. Just take the derivative of individual terms. Here's the second. F of x is equal to negative 3x squared minus 4x plus 8. And the answer to that is negative 6x minus 4 plus 0. So here we had a couple of negatives in there, but it didn't change anything. I still took the derivative of each one. So if you don't learn the power rule, guess what? Exactly. If you don't learn the power rule, then that means you're going to suck at the remaining rules. So that's why 1.4 and 1.5 is very important. And I still see she's offline, so I guess she's just going to have to watch a video. I'm trying to get her in here, but... Okay, she still hasn't replied, so... All right, so, and we're going to go through these, but we're going to go through them again because we're going to go over homework questions here in just a minute. Product rule. Product rule is when you have two numbers or two terms that you are taking the derivative of. Okay? Let me give you an example. And it's hard for me. Let's say I'd like to do, I'm going to write 4 times 2x squared. I'm going to write it in expanded form. Now I could write that as 8x squared. Does everybody understand that? Now later on it's going to be maybe 4 times parentheses x minus 1. So you got 2. And you can do it algebraically, and I'm going to get to that. But here, this is called first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Now that's the way I do it. So you need to write that down. First times the derivative of the second plus the second times the first. First times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. So here, I'm going to take first times the derivative of the second. I'm going to do that in green or blue. That's going to be 4x to the first plus the second x squared times the derivative of the first, which will be 0. And what happens to that second term? What happens to this term?
Cancels out.
Cancels out, and you're left with 16x. I'm covering this as an introduction right now, okay? This is an introduction of where this test is heading. So this is not, we are not this, and you're mastering it all in this class. We're going to go over power rules, sum and difference rule, probably today, as we go over the questions that I've got in homework. And the quotient rule. The quotient rule would be, now, could I have done 8x squared? Could I have combined that and done that? Yes, you would have got the same answer. And you will see overlapping of properties. You will see that. Doesn't matter. You can still do it. You get the same problem. You get the same answer. Okay? Here is an example of a quotient rule. And this is denominator times numerator prime minus the numerator times denominator prime over denominator squared. Now that's the way I'm going to do it. Numerator times the denominator prime minus the numerator times the denominator prime over the denominator squared. And those, you know, you've probably seen this before, I don't know, but I'm just going to do 4x squared over 2x. Now you could do the algebra and then take the derivative with the power rule, but I'm not showing you. I'm showing you the quotient rule. So here we go. Numerator times denominator prime minus the numerator, numerator times denominator prime, minus the denominator times numerator prime, minus the denominator times numerator prime. Numerator is 8x over denominator squared. So what's 4x times 4x squared times 2? 8x squared, Hubert. Thank you, class. And what is 2x times 8x? Over 4x squared. And of course, that's negative 8x squared over 4x squared, and what is that? Negative 2, sorry. Negative 2. Now, of course, you could have went, well, Hubert, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then x squared would be x, and the derivative of 2x is what? Should be negative. Did I get negative somewhere? Yeah, I've got a negative. Should be negative. What, where?
The 8x.
Yeah, that should be negative. Okay, huh? Yeah, but the answer is not negative 2. It's supposed to be 2. I've got a negative somewhere.
You're
Okay.
8x squared minus 16x squared.
Yeah, that's negative, but it's not supposed to be negative. I've got an error somewhere. Okay, we're not going to worry about it now. We're going to do plenty of quotient rule later, so not worried about it right now. And the chain rule. Let me make this smaller, and I'll tell you what the chain rule is. And again, I'm not showing you this as you need to master it right now. I'm showing it to you where we're headed. So here's the chain rule. And I'll try to, I don't know if I can get this to match up or not, but anyway, that's good enough. Chain rule. The chain rule says 2 times x plus 1 to the third power. And what do you do there? Well, you treat you do the power rule. I'm going to write down power rule plus what's inside prime. Okay? Power rule plus what's inside prime. So that means you got to take the derivative of what's inside. So 3 times 2 is what?
6.
So that's the power rule. That's going to be 6 times x plus 1. What's 3 minus 1? 2. And then the derivative of x plus 1 is 1. So your answer to the chain rule is 6 times x plus 1 quantity squared. And those, okay, like I said, you're talking about 80% of your test right now. Your Unit 2 test there is 80% of your test. And I would say 60% of your test, well, just leave it at 80. Okay, because well, Hubert, what's the other 20%? Make sure you know how to do a limit. Make sure you understand a limit. Make sure you know if I give you a trinomial over a polynomial, you factor the top and the bottom and you cancel out whatever, and you plug in the limit and then you get a y. Or make sure you know that if 2 limits don't equal, that means that the limit does not what? Exist. Make sure you know the infinity. That 1.1 through 1.3 stuff. That's 20% of your grade. And she's still not on, and I still haven't heard from her, so I'll keep looking. I haven't got a text from her yet, so I'll just keep looking. Okay, so let's go to the questions. Homework questions. Homework question number 1. 1.4, 22/6. Now remember, when you're doing derivatives, what's the number 1 rule of derivatives? Really? Hold on a minute. I've got to log back on. 2050 maybe. Let's try this now. You got to rewrite. So some of these, you can't do anything until you rewrite. Find an equation of the line tangent to, okay, first of all, I want you to graph this line. I want you to sketch it. Sketch this parabola. So you should be able to sketch it in a couple of, at least 45 seconds to a minute. You should be able to sketch this graph. I'm going to rewrite it like you're supposed to write it. F of x is equal to negative 7x squared minus 1. So that means we got a vertical shift of what? 1 down. And we have a negative, which means it's going upside down. And then 7 means it's being compressed. So we've got a negative 1 down. And I got to find the vertex, so we're going to use, let's see, negative 7x squared equals 1. And we're going to divide by negative 7. Divide by negative 7. And that's going to give us x squared is equal to negative 1/7. So that means we're taking the square root of a negative, which means what? No what? X-intercepts. So we got something that looks, I don't know, something like this. And something like that. Okay? Skinny. We've got a vertical shift of negative 1, and it's opening downward, and that's pretty much it. All right? And it says at negative 2 and negative 29. So I'm just going to use negative 2 and negative 29. Let's say it's right here. They want to know the slope, the equation of the slope of that blue line right there. Now the reason I did that, and I'm very haphazardly graphing it. Why am I haphazardly graphing it, and why is that important? Because you need to understand what the question is asking for. They want to know the equation of that blue line. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Because that point right here is at -2 and -29. So we need to find the antiderivative. And I'm going to kind of combine 1.5 today. 1.5 is the only thing they're teaching you in 1.5 is you can write this f prime of x. You can write it as dy dx, or you can write it y prime. However you want to write it. That's the different nomenclature or whatever you want to use for this. F of x is equal to -7x squared minus 1. You can write it as f prime of x, that means the derivative. This means the derivative of y in respect to x. And this means y prime. All of them mean derivative. I don't care which one you use. Okay? It's not a big deal. So, what's 2? Use the power. This is the sum and difference rule because you're subtracting terms. So you do each one. So this is x to the 0. I always do that because that kind of helps people out. All right, so what's 2 times -7?
-14.
And minus 1 is 1. What's 0 times 1? 0x to the -1, and that goes out. So what is the equation? And I'm going to rewrite it as blue. I'm going to say f prime of x is equal to what? -14x. That should be your answer. Now, they may ask you one more thing. What is the slope at -2? So they'll say f prime of -2 is equal to what? -14 times what? -2. And what is -14 times -2? So the slope of this blue line is 28/1. So here I found the equation for the slope. And here I found the slope at x is equal to -2. So there's two problems here. One, I found the equation, and here this is what they might give you. They might say, what is f of -2? And f of -2 means I want to find the slope at x is equal to -2. Is this a test question? Oh yeah. Any questions from the peanut gallery? I hate Miss Simmons. I think Miss Simmons has given up. So I'm going to cancel and I'm going to go ahead and spread this out. Mr. Miyagi, you awful quiet.
Yeah.
Is it a bad weekend or a bad day?
I kind of look like I have a mini bowl cut right now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
What happened? Did you try to cut your own hair or what? You went to
No,
a
I
party
think
and
my
passed
barber
out or
slipped.
what? What?
I think my barber slipped.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing.
You're still a winner, Mr. Miyagi. You're still a winner. Don't get hooked up on looks, Mr. Miyagi.
No, and
Everything's a
also I feel
balance.
sick, so like, yeah.
Everything's a balance. I'm trying to fix my oh, God. I'm trying to fix my view here. Y'all can't see it, but I was waiting until Miss Simmons Skyped in because it messes up my view. So just bear with me a second. I'm still trying. Wouldn't have to do this if they had put the TVs side by side, but what do I know? There we go. Well, for some reason, everything is just not working today. And if I do this, it's going to do it again. There we go. Now I can see everyone. Pendleton, settle down, please. All right. So here we go. Negative 14x. And we feel good about ourselves. Are they wanting, I have no idea what they're wanting because that's the right answer.
I think they're looking for the.
I have no idea what they're getting.
They're in a different position.
28x plus 27. Okay, I don't know. Hold on. Oh, they're wanting you to plug and chug. They're not wanting the derivative. I'm sorry. I'm thinking ahead of things. All right, let's regroup. They're wanting you to plug in negative 29 or negative 2, aren't they? Negative 2 before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're wanting. But I don't understand why they're, yeah, plug in, yeah, that's what they're wanting. Okay, I don't understand why they're doing that. I think what they're trying to do is show you the difference between algebra and calculus. It's about the only thing I know. So this is what they're doing. Let me erase this over here. Sorry about that, whoever sent this. I thought they were asking about calculus. So they're still wanting you to do the dadgum algebra. The algebra, you just plug in x and y. I got the cart before the horse. Right over here, I'll just say algebra. The old way of doing it is to say y is equal to negative 7x squared minus 1 and plug in what for y? And then plug in negative 7 and then, not negative 7, negative 2 and solve. And then plug back in. After you find out what everything is, then you can plug back in. Or, yeah. Which again, I don't understand why they're doing that because you get 4 times 7 is negative 28 right there. So, and then you bring the, hey there.
It wouldn't work.
That's okay, I'm sorry. What did it keep doing?
It just kept giving me a loading page and saying my password is wrong. It's not. So I don't know what.
Did you try your T number?
Yeah. And I tried to reset it. And
Let me guess, were you using Apple?
Yeah. But I did last time too when I called you.
Okay. So you have used it before?
Uh-huh.
I don't know why it could be missing.
And I tried to reset my password, but it said that I don't have the authority to do that.
Well, call the help desk. Call 646-1779 and see if they can unscrew it up. Or whatever, something's screwed up. You need to fix it because you might need to use it. I'm going to look at what they're doing because I thought for sure they were wanting to, they're plugging it. That's what they're doing. They're plugging it into the difference quotient. I'd rather you just do it the way I said do it. I'd rather you just do the, but how are you going to get, I still don't understand how they're doing it. Because they're getting 28x. I can get the 28. I guess the 27 is where I'm a little bit confused. Because to me, I guess you have to plug it in. Because here is the negative 2. I'm thinking out loud. Let me see what they're doing there. They're plugging it into the difference quotient, which I don't even want you to do. give an example. Let me delete this. And they're giving you those two numbers, and x of 1 plus h, that's x plus h, minus f of x over h. They're using the difference quotient. And they're plugging in 3 minus 4. So x is equal to 2. F of x is equal to 3 minus 4x squared. God, they're going around the world to do the same thing. And see what happens to your h's. What happens to your h's right here?
Cancel out.
They go out. So you get what I told you you would get, but they're doing it, they're going a long way around. I think they're trying to show you how the algebra works is the only thing I could come up with. So they're taking 3 minus 4x squared. Just give me a second. Okay, I think I know what they're doing now. They're taking the blue, which is right here, and they're going -1 minus 7 parentheses squared, and then minus brackets, and then they're plugging in the -2, and when you plug in the -2, I think that's where they're getting the 28. -2 squared is +4, or yeah, -2 squared is 4. 4 times -7 is -28. Somebody check my math there. And that'll give you a -29. So that's where they're getting the -29, I assume, right here. And then over h. I think that's what they're doing. This is not a test question. It's a test question as far as, see, that's what they're doing. There's your 3 minus 4, and instead of x plus h, you're going to be typing in -2 plus h, because the -2 is x. X plus h is -2 plus h, and here you're plugging -2 into the function. And if you plug -2 into the function, you should be getting that -13. So that should be -13. So what's 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is -16. What's 3 minus 16? -13. So that's -13, just like I said, this is -29. And then you put it over h. They're going around the world to do this problem. Okay? So we're going to get -2 plus h right here. -2 plus h. And then you just solve it. This is not my idea of a helpful problem. -1, but I'm going to do it just to make sure y'all know how to do it for your homework, because it's not going to be on the test. 4 minus, let's see, that's going to be 2xh, or 2, that'd be -4h, -4h plus h squared, minus, be a plus 29 over h, which that's going to give us a -1 minus 7, let's say minus this 28 plus, help me out here, 28h minus 28h squared, y'all check me there, plus 29 all over h. And what happens to the positive 29? That goes out, and that cancels that to that, and cancels this to first power. So that's going to give us 28 minus what? 28h, 28h, and that's limit as h approaches 0. Well, that's going to take the h out, and that's going to leave 28. But I don't know if that's what they want. They got 28x plus 27. I don't know how they're doing that. What did we get for the first derivative? Negative 7x squared minus 1 is negative 14x.
Yeah.
Hell, I don't know what they're doing. I'll have to figure this problem out and bring it back to you. I want to move on. God, they're going around the world. Any suggestions? Did I make a mistake somewhere? I hate when they throw these problems in here that really don't help. They're more a hindrance than they are help. Let me move on to another one. If it's not a dadgum derivative, we're going to keep going because that's all I care about. Oh my God.
Have they changed that?
I think this shut up. That's the same problem. Next one. Let's see what this was number 10. What was that one? Was that number, that was number 6. This is number 10. Which of the lines of the following appear to be tangent lines? Well, this one seems to be, I'll just use green. This one's a tangent line. This one's a tangent line. This one's a tangent line. This one's not a tangent line because it crosses. This one's not a tangent line because it crosses. And this one is. A tangent line does not cross the function. Write that down. Tangent line does not cross the function. Secant line crosses the function. Tangent line does not. Got that? So, let's see what the answer is. Let's go with, I said L2, and what else? L3, and of course they have to mix them up. What else did I say? L4?
L4.
And L6?
Yeah.
That should be your answer, but with this crazy person book, I don't know. It's probably asking you to reinvent the wheel. Okay, remember, tangent lines, oh God, we're going to have Philadelphia lawyer questions now. Okay, tangent lines do not cross. Why do the lines selected above appear to be tangent and why the other lines not tangent? Read over that and see if it says anything about they are along the line, they do not cross the line. See if it says something to that effect. Parallel is a good word. So, which one does it look like?
I'm thinking B.
Okay. The first part of this question is a good test question. When they get in these Philadelphia lawyer questions, there's only like one little word that differentiates. Yep, that's it. Please let that be it. Let's go on to another question. Please don't go through Z. Is that it? Good. We didn't go through Z on that one. By the time the semester's over, you're going to understand what type of questions I like to put on test. I don't like going around the world. I don't like doing that. Let's see if this is a test question. Okay, this is one we've done. Okay, you can't do this one yet by the chain rule. So you're going to have to use what? The difference quotient, Hubert. That's right, class. So, and I think I went over one like this. Somebody look in your notes.
I don't think we were able to finish it.
Okay, well, we'll finish it then. Square root of, parentheses plus 4. Thank you for communicating. I hope nobody beats you up. Minus 3 over the square root of x plus 4. And yes, this is a test question. I don't put a lot of these on the test. I put difference quotient on it, but I don't put a lot because some of them can be very time consuming. So I'm going to put an x plus h right here. And now I've got the following. I've got 3 over square root of x plus h plus 4 minus 3 over the square root of x plus 4 all over h over 1. Now I've got a complex rational what?
Expression.
A complex rational expression, which means I've got to multiply by the common denominator over 1 over the common denominator over 1. So go ahead and put everything together because you can't do anything else but put those radicals together. It's going to be a mess, but you'll be all right. So I'm going to take my handy dandy blue marker and I'm going to multiply by the square root of x plus h plus 4 times the square root of x plus h over 1 over the square root of x plus h plus 4 times the square root of x plus 4 over 1. Now go ahead and crank that out. And that's going to give us, I'm going to write it, I'm going to put a baby step in here for you. I'm going to put square root of x plus h plus 4, square root of x plus 4 over 1, and square root of x plus h plus 4, square root of x plus 4 over 1. I'm not going to have enough room to write the rest of it, so I'm going to have to make some of it smaller. I ain't had training yet, so if I mess this up, excuse me, okay? Maybe it'll be on a poster on the 18th. Maybe I'll be able to look at a poster. I need to put another one of these. I should have copied and pasted is what I should have done. I'm sorry, I'll shut up. I'm talking to myself and y'all don't communicate, so y'all don't understand talking to yourself. So, square root of x plus h plus 4, square root of x plus 4 over 1. And now I'll put in my 3 over square root of x plus h plus 4 minus times 3 over the square root of x plus 4, all that over h over 1. And what happens to the square root of x plus h plus 4? That goes out. This goes out. And you're left with 3 times square root of x plus 4 minus 3 times the square root of x plus h plus 4, x plus 4, sorry. And x plus h plus 4 over the square root of x plus h plus 4 times the square root of x plus 4 and times h. Now, you could actually multiply through or multiply by the conjugate, which would be 3x plus 4 plus 3x plus h plus 4. You could do that on top and the bottom, but I don't know how far they want you to carry it. I don't know if they want you to get rid of the, I'll look and see. Let's move it over. Okay, like I said before, some of these I'm not going to put on the test because it takes too much time. Okay. Today is just not a good day to go over homework problems.
You can do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It sounded like Jake.
It is.
Finally came in, Jake.
Yeah, sorry, I had to work this morning.
Oh, how is things? Are we going to die or what?
No, but I was trying to stop the flood. Put
Okay,
sandbags
well,
everywhere.
that means we're going to die here in Anderson because it's flooding up in Liberty. We're picking. Where is it flooding, Jake?
Then there's Park.
Okay. Well, make sure you call Channel 4 so they can scare everybody.
Fox News was there last week.
Oh, I
My boss
guarantee
let me
you.
talk
Got to
to 'em.
scare people. All right, multiply by 3 square root of x plus 4 plus 3 square root of x plus h plus 4 over 3 square root of x plus 4 plus 3 square root of x plus h plus 4. Now what that's going to do is that's going to make a plus b times a minus b, which is a squared, which is going to be 9. I think I'm going too far with this. 9 times x plus 4 minus 9 times x plus h plus 4 over, good gracious, what a mess. And that's going to be, you can factor out a 3 there. This down here is just going to be a mess, okay, for right now, okay? And that's going to be 9x, let's go with 9x plus 9, what, 9 times 4 is what, 36? Minus 9x minus 9h minus what, 36? And what do you see happening? The 36 cancels, the 9x cancels, and you're left with negative 9h, over h times all that crap. And the h's cancel, and you're left with negative 9 over all that stuff, which is going to be this right in here. I think I carried it too far. I don't know if they want you to go that far or not. I'm just going to type in 3. I don't feel like typing all that in. We still, that's a good homework problem, but it's not a good test problem because it's too long. So hopefully, I don't know who sent that one in, but speak up if that helps because y'all not communicating very well today. So,
That might.
okay. Let's see what they got. Yeah, that's what they got. Now they condensed the bottom, but see what they're going to get. That 3 right there is going to factor out. And what's 9 divided by 3? 3. So that's where the 9 cancels. So that's where they're getting. And they what they did is they put this to the 1/2 power and put this with the 1/2 power, and that's where everything's going to cancel out. That is way too long. But what's the answer there? Good gracious. Why are we getting I know why we're getting all these questions, these bad questions, because by the time you get through with the easy ones, these are the only ones left. All right, that's that one. Is that number 12 that we just did?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get rid of these. Delete, 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 delete. 14, let's see what this one looks like. Okay, this, first of all, graphic. So let's graph it. You shouldn't have to do it. It should take you less than 30 seconds. What kind of horizontal shift do we have?
5.
5 to the what?
Right.
To the left. No, 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's your vertical shift?
6 up.
6.
6. So, and what does absolute value look like?
B.
Vodka and V, yes. So first of all, we cannot have a tangent line where?
Corner.
At a corner. So I don't know if they're going to ask you for that, but you can't. But they say, it says, for what x values is the function not differentiable? Well, that would be at 5 and what? 5 and 6. At 5 and 6, the function is not there. You can't do it. Okay? So what does B say? Evaluate G prime of O, G prime of 1, G prime of, well, first of all, you're going to have to take, you got to find the function of G of X, of X minus 5. And remember, if you're trying to find X minus 5, you got to set equal to the positive and the what? The negative. So you basically have two functions. You got G of X is equal to negative X minus 5 plus 6. And I'm going to call the other one H of X is equal to what? Positive X minus 5 plus 6. Remember, whenever you're trying to find the absolute value of something, you have to what? You have to set equal to the positive and to the what? Negative. Because you have this function. Let me just do this. Let me try to help you out here. Here's a function. And here's a function. You've got two separate functions. One's negative and one's positive. So you can go ahead and finish those. And I'll do the negative, I'll do that in blue. So that's going to be G of X is equal to negative X plus what? Plus 5 plus what? So G of X is equal to what? Negative X plus what?
Plus 6.
Plus 11. 5 plus 6, it should be 11. Check it. Make sure I didn't make a mistake. And now we're going to do this one in green. And that's going to give us H of X is equal to X minus 5 plus 6. And what is H of X equal to? X what? Now, where is 0? Is 0 hitting the blue line or is 0 hitting the green line? X is equal to 0.
Should be blue.
X is equal to 0 is right here, so it's hitting the what? It's hitting the blue line, Hubert. Thank you, all 4 classes, for communicating. So I'm going to plug in 0 into the blue function. So G prime of 0 is equal to negative parentheses plus 11. And that gives us what? 11. So somebody type in 11, that should be the answer. So 11. So let's do g prime of 1. What is g prime of 1 hitting? What is x equal to 1 hitting? It's hitting this function. So plug in the 1. What is negative 1 plus 11?
10.
10. What is 9? What is x is equal to 9? What is it hitting? It's hitting the green line. Y'all catching on? Thank you, 2 people from Anderson campus, for communicating with me. Okay, so plug in 9 into that function, and you get what? 10. And then what's the last one? 10. And what's 10 plus 1? It's supposed to be symmetrical. I've got it somewhat symmetrical, and I don't even have a piece of graph paper behind it. So that's a pretty good test question. It doesn't take long to do it. I still probably wouldn't put it on the test, because I want you to be able to do derivatives, and hell, we ain't even got to the derivatives yet. So we just have to keep on going.
Hey, Hubert.
Yes?
Why are the answers as -1?
Those are not answers. You got to type in the answers. That's what I'm fixing to do, if it'll let me.
Yeah, because it's a similar question. That means those are correct.
That's not correct. All right, do this one. I'll show you. So do x minus 4 plus 2. X minus 4 plus 2. So what is the horizontal shift?
4 to the right.
4 to the right. And what is the vertical shift? 2 up.
2.
So that is your, we'll put the green line over here, and the blue line over here. They're supposed to be symmetrical. All right, the red dot references where we cannot, x equal to 4, we can't do that. Okay? So now we got to find the g of x. Oh, I know why. Did I take the derivative of those functions? I don't think I did. My bad. Okay, well, I'll figure it out this time. G of x is equal to what? X, negative x plus 4 plus 2, which is negative x, and plus what? 6? So that's g of x, which is that's the blue line. So I'm going to write g prime of x. G prime of x would equal what? Well, this is a 1. So what's the derivative of negative 1x? Negative 1. Yeah, that's a 0. That's g prime of x, so it doesn't matter what you get. For g prime of x, it's going to be 1. That's why you were getting the same answers for that, so my bad. H of x is going to be the green line, is equal to the positive x plus 4, and that's x plus what? X plus 6, and what is the derivative of x plus 6? So h prime of x is equal to 1. So on your answers, you're going to get, you got to ask yourself, at g sub o and g sub 1, at 0 and 1, you're hitting the blue line. So your blue line, your answers are going to be negative 1. Everybody see that? Your slope is going to be at those points. I just forgot to take the derivative. I'm sorry. And here, the green line is 5 and 14. At 5 and 14, what is the slope of this line? Positive 1. That's what they're asking you. Okay? So a while ago, when I was doing this problem, I didn't take the derivative, I plugged into the formulas. That's algebra. Okay, this is algebra, which I just forgot to take and this is calculus. I forgot to do the calculus. Now, despite what we did today, we still haven't gotten to what the heart of the dadgum test is on. Okay, so I'll tell you, let me show you one, and I'm picking on Jake here. Let me type these in so you know them. I know what I'm doing now. That's, what is this, 4? 5?
Do I hear that?
5? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
Is that Minecraft?
No, it's my alarm telling me to shut up. But I'm ignoring it because I need to show you something. And I know some of y'all are having convulsions, but you'll be all right. So that should be -1. The next one should be -1. They're still trying to teach y'all algebra and calculus. And I'm trying to get to the calculus, and that's why I'm messing up. +1 and +1. Shut up. Okay, let me go to Jake's question because that's the type of question I want to look at. All right, Jake's question is 1.5. All right, I want you to write this question down. This is a derivative. I hope the hell it is. I'm about ready to quit. I thought for sure all these 1.4 questions were derivatives. There. All right, y is equal to 1. This is the type of question I'm going to be asking you. All right, 1 over x to the 9th. The first thing you do is what? Rewrite it. Okay? First thing you do is rewrite it to find the derivative. So f of x, I'm going to write this 3 different ways. I'm going to say y is equal to 1 over x to the 9th. F of x is equal to 1 over x to the 9th. And I can just go y prime, or y is equal to x to the -9th. F of x is equal to x to the -9th. Here, y prime or dy dx, however you want to write it, I don't care. You can write it however you can. If you want to write f prime of x, you can do that. All of them are the same. Okay? What's -9 times 1? So that's going to be -9x. And what's -9 minus 1? So same thing here. -9x to the -10. Now you just have to put it back in pretty mode. Okay? So what do you got to do? Well, that's going to be y prime or dy dx is equal to -9 over what? And that's how you get it. So this is, now, do not think that all your test is going to be this easy. Because we've still got, and that's what I thought I was going to get to today, we still got the sum, difference, product, quotient. Now when I go over them, I'm only going to go over them like in a day. Okay, 1 class or 2 classes. So hopefully by Thursday, we'll be through at least to the quotient or the product rule. Okay, because I'm going to go over them and we're going to do examples. So we're going to do that Thursday, no matter what. All right, see y'all, and y'all have a good afternoon, and keep working on 1.1 through 1.7. I really don't care about 1.8 right now. I just want you to work on you only should be able to work on 1.1 through 1.5 right now. All right.